Shalom. Allah start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and Ezra Millstone. Salutations to the whole fillet that's pushing this truth across the four corners of the earth and all fair truth and sincerity. This I'm on the bar back again. That's it. Not gonna make this too long. So I'm going to about how the so-called white man eat sodomite doubles. They when they do things, that's against the law. They get the benefit of the doubt. They'll get a lesser bond sentence. They'll get found not guilty when all the evidence and everything points to them being guilty. All right, and I'm saying that's because, like I said, hey, this is their rulership, right? This is their time to rule, but it's gonna come a time where they're gonna pay for all the the atrocities and the rape, riot, and murder, they're done to the so-called Negro, Latino natives, which are Israelites, and the things they done to this earth and so forth, just being who they is, the wicked, right? They're gonna pay for their crimes, man, their wicked crimes, that they done, that they still do, they're not gonna get away. Their time of judgment, is gonna come by the Lord Yahweh, Yahushua, in the future to come. But I'm getting to it. Psalm 73:5. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they pled like other men. So these so-called white people, East Side of my doubles, they are not, in trouble as other men. The so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites, which are the Israelites. A Negro, which are the tribe of Judites. They'll do something against the law. They getting a whole book thrown at them. They getting a big bun. They have a big bun, but they got a bun out, and they'll get they found guilty. Negro, Latino, Native, Israelite man will be found guilty off the rip without even, even having the chance, to defend themselves, to not be found guilty, but that's the world that we in, everything is against the so-called Negro, Latino, Israelites, This system is against us. The Israelite man, let's say we do something, even like let's say with a small misdemeanor or something like that, get a longer sentence than a so-called white man Edomite would, or they'll get off somehow, Like I said, this is their rulership. This is they, Of course, it's gonna benefit them more than it benefit the so-called Negro, Latino natives, But it's coming to an end, man. Those Edomite devils that get away with what they get away with for rape, riot, murder, or whatever, fraud, or whatever, all that. That's gonna change, man. Lord Yahweh Shai gonna deal with these Edomite devils, man. And like I say, then I pled like other men, they ain't got to deal with the, the curses that the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Israelite got to deal with, according to the Bible, the curses, Deuteronomy, but those curses gonna flip on the so-called white people Edomite doubles, they're gonna have to deal with, you know, um, being at the bottom, you know, and dealing with, um, not, not getting their way, and so forth. Um, those curses gonna come upon these Edomite devils, it's happening now, slowly, but once the Edomite devils fully, Lord y'all try to take the Edomites down, that's when, like I said, they're gonna be at the bottom. And then, like I said, they're gonna have to deal with, those curses and not having much, or gotta deal with, um, waking up early, and working, working their ass off, and not getting, a fair share or nothing, being, what they got to deal with, that time is gonna come. But I'll go from there. I ain't want to make this too long. Ecclesiastes 8:12. Though a sinner do evil 100 times, and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear the Most High, Yahweh, which fear before Him. So it's gonna be, like I said, though these, the Edomite devils, they commit all these sins and do all this wickedness. The Lord Yahweh Shai sees and hates. And in the middle of Lord they have this truth. Those that believe in Lord Yahweh Shai, keep His keep this truth and keep His, wisdom, knowledge, understanding His ways to the best of their ability. It's gonna be okay. Those that fear the Lord Yahweh Shai. But like I say, the Edomite devils that do all this wickedness, they think they're gonna get away, but they're not gonna get away. That time of judgment is gonna come upon them, man, when they least suspect it. But next verse, this is the last. I'm gonna end off here. I ain't gonna make this too long. Ecclesiastes 8:13. But it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he feared not before the Most High. Yahweh so it's not gonna be well with the wicked, man. And they say they times coming in. It might seem like, oh, the Edomite devils are going to get away with everything, and that's just gonna happen to them. They're not gonna get locked up or whatever, or put away. They just still running out here, running around, do what they want to do, But that's not gonna be the case, Edomite devils, these elites, these are bankers, the elites, the bankers, the family, the Rothschilds family, and the Rockefellers and so forth. They're not gonna get away, for the wickedness they do. They like I said, their time of judgment by Lord Yahweh will come upon them. Like I said, when they least suspect it, it's gonna it's gonna be a beautiful thing to see, when Edomite devils go down, man. This place, America, Babylon the Great be destroyed. And and these elites and bankers that go into these bunkers, it escaped that escaped the destruction of America, Babylon the Great, when Lord Yahweh returns. And once the smoke clears, they'll get pulled out of them bunkers, and go into hardcore slavery. Matter of fact, I was gonna make this the last one, but let me get this real quick. Let me see. Yeah, that's Jeremiah. Yep. Make sure. It's Jeremiah 16:16. So behold, I will send for many fishers, except the Lord Yahweh, and they shall fish them. So right now you got the apostles and the Ellsberg, Roberta Gray Millstone, the men Lord that teach the truth. Fishing, Lord Yahushua, Lord Yahushua got the apostle Ellsberg, Roberta Gray Millstone, teaching the truth and fishing for the elect, the pushing his word, to gather the elect, But and after I was sent for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. So that's gonna come a time, when Lord Yahushua, it's gonna come a point, it's gonna go from the men of the Lord fishing, teaching his word and gathering the elect, to hey, we're gonna be hunting for these fucking Edomite devils, the elites, the bankers that run this world, they have control over the media and all this stuff. We're gonna get them, drag them out, get them out them bunkers, put them in chains, excuse me, put them in chains, and I don't know why I keep saying change. Excuse me, and chains. There you go. So, we're gonna put them in, chains, and we're gonna got they're gonna go into hardcore slavery. They're gonna get all, the beatings and whippings and everything, in the kingdom, the kingdom, the kingdom established, by Lord Yahushua, King David, the house of David, the elect, and they're gonna have to deal with the punishment, for 1,000 years, getting beaten and so forth. And then they'll be done away with after 1,000 years, Edomites, so-called white people doubles, So with that, I didn't want to make it too long. So again, I hope this was edifying. So again, like all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Kakadash, to the apostles, elders, to the Sisakim brothers, to the few